I'm Megan Blair-Valero. I'm the owner at In Bookkeeping, and we provide accounting and financial solutions for small business and individuals.
Beautiful. Megan, thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate this. How did you start your business? I mean, you are in Nantucket, and you are, I mean, people just assume it's isolated, it's only a vacation spot, but you're running a business like 365 days a year, 365 days. Where did this idea come from, and who are the people that you work with the most?
It really was an idea born of necessity. I needed a career that fit parenthood and fit the financial needs of living in a really expensive place. And a lot of women find bookkeeping and accounting to be a good solution for that. It's deadline based. There's relatively low barrier to entry. And it's flexible. And so I really built a firm around what I needed. And guess what? It turns out it works for a lot of people, whether they have kids or not. So that's how we got started. And, being that Nantucket has some high net worth individuals, we did find ourselves working with those folks as they made micro investment into different businesses that needed accounting solutions to go with that. And ended up working our way into working with a lot of high net worth individuals on their personal balance sheet, on their family finance. So family office work has become a cornerstone of what we do and who we serve. But they work with just as many startups and small businesses. And so we really get to serve those folks with a hope and a dream and a vision for what they want to be, and take the accounting and finance piece off of their plate so they can focus on what they're good at. There's very few startups I see, come through Mass Challenge or anything that are like, yeah, I'm excited about the accounting part of this.
That's not exciting. What are you talking about?
Exciting to us, really generally overwhelming, and actually a place a lot of small businesses can get themselves in trouble. They get their cap table off to the wrong start, or they get in trouble because they didn't know that they needed to file and pay unemployment insurance or something like that. So we can really sort of help keep the wheels on the cart for them during, a very busy time for them where there's a lot of competing priorities, and then help them maintain a system. And so being that we were isolated, it forced us to innovate early because our staffing pool and our client pool was limited. You're 30 miles out at sea on an island with a year-round population of about 15,000 people. It wasn't enough. So we got into the game 15 years ago, really ramped it up 10 years ago, of being a digital remote firm, which right now in a time of COVID is super relevant. And we're watching a lot of our, old school accounting peers that have been pen and paper, you have to come into the office sort of establishments really struggle right now. And that's right in our DNA. That's who we are, how we operate. We had to alter a little bit of, we do have an office here in Nantucket. There were some people that, were a little paper driven, but, we just got them onto the same platform as our clients in New York and California, and away we went.
So now, I want to stop you for a quick second. You said you started the company 15 years ago, but then you went digital. Why at that time? Because people weren't digital, and all of a sudden you decided to go that route earlier than most people.
I'm lazy. I don't believe in making things harder than they have to be. I shouldn't say I'm lazy. And so I am always looking for the most efficient route. And it really was the most efficient route at the time. And then 10 years ago, we had this amazing employee we loved working with. Her husband was ready to retire and go live in their house in Florida. And I wasn't ready to let her go. So I'm like, you can move to Florida, but you have to keep working for us. And so there was this catalyst and this incentive to create a remote workforce with somebody I had built great rapport and trust with. And we've really just replicated that over the last decade.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. How big is your team, and how are they doing during this time, and how are you taking care of them?
So we're a team of 5, although I have had to recruit my children onto my team. So my children are 12 and 18. And we all live in the same house. So it's not having an outsider that's creating, issues from a contagion standpoint. So Patrick, the 12-year-old, has become a very good filer. He's also good at processing checks and mailing. The 18-year-old, who's been helping me here and there for years, has gotten recruited into scanning and doing some general office work. So there are new additions. Great and awesome. Great and awesome, and they're learning some skills. But our regular team, who is used to working remotely, has the new challenge of working remotely under an awful lot of stress. And for some folks on our team are based in Portland, Oregon, so they had really some of that early wave of school cancellations and quarantining at home and that kind of thing. So Haley on our team works at home with 3 children between the ages of 4 and 12 at home underfoot. And folks have a lot more people in their space. So even though we're used to working remotely, it still is a stressful change. So as far as taking care of our team, it's different for different people. Lots of meeting and reminding to take care of ourselves. Are you taking breaks? Are you eating regular meals? Are you getting out and going for the walk? Sometimes that means telling people you're done work for the day, go take care of yourself. And in other cases, it's getting creative with, solving for the particular problems in their environment. So, sending Haley's kids mail so that they have a reason to go to the mailbox and something to do. We've given allowances on the Amazon account to buy beads or Play-Doh or whatever is going to keep the kids busy for a few hours beyond homeschooling. And Mary doesn't know it, but right now she lives in Florida and was complaining how hot it was and how much time she's spending in her pool. So we are in the process of boxing up and sending her a lovely unicorn pool float. So that she is incentivized to get in that pool a little more often. And we're finding challenges and opportunities really in all of this. So there's, internally within our staff, I think there's a different sense of, a challenge in the communication. Because there's this sense of urgency, and not just sense of urgency, some real urgency for our clients. The best analogy I've heard is it's like we're financial doctors and all of our patients got sick at once.
Great analogy.
So day to day involves a lot of triage. There's more work than can be accomplished, and so you have to treat, the sickest patients first, and sometimes the very sickest of them you can't treat at all because they're not able to be saved, which is very sad, and it takes an emotional toll on all of us.
Well, I have to say you're hitting it right there. Where how have you? I love what you're doing for your team to keep them motivated, to keep them just like knowing that you care. But those clients, my first week when this started, there was a lot of phone conversations about what's going to happen when we have to get let go of people, and then week number 2 were tears that they had people like, how do we market our company when we are having to get rid of the team that's going to support us to get more business? So how are you coming up with creative ways to help them? How are you easing them? There's such anxiety with what's going on.
So I'm a huge proponent, COVID or no COVID, of facing reality. So stuffing it down, putting it off, hiding it in a closet, not dealing with that pile of unopened mail because there's bills in there, is not an approach that's going to put you in a position of power to make choices that are going to get you where you want to go. So pulling the information together and making sure people have a clear picture of where we actually are is really important to understanding how do we get where we want to go. I feel like we're fine. I feel like we're not fine. In the accounting world is not a great place to operate from. Facts. So get the numbers in order and get the facts together. And then the next step to, really helping clients in the best way we can, although it can be uncomfortable, is putting some assumptions together and creating some predictions. And we're doing that a lot through, spreadsheets, budgeting, forecasts, sort of say, what does this look like? And a lot of my budgets and forecasts have a little slider on the top of them that say, if business is down 70%, what does that look like? If we're only down 20%, what does that look like? If we're down 80%, what does that look like?
Yep.
So that we can play with scenarios and say, okay, here's where we are, and help them understand the pros and cons. You know, the journey is different. For some people, it is, how do I close my company with the least impact to myself personally so that I can be a phoenix and rise again, right? For other people, it's, how do I keep my doors open? And for other people, it's, I'm overwhelmed with business. We've seen this huge bloom because we focus in a specialized sector that's now actually experiencing growth. And I need to understand how to hire for that or scale for that, or I actually need money to stimulate cash flow because I have more bills because we're doing more. So creating clarity for folks that, you know, money and finance might not be their native language, is really the best thing I can do for clients to help them.
Now you just hit three major, the majors. I need to shut down. You have to know it's okay to shut down. And how do you survive it so that way you can rise again, the phoenix? How am I going to keep the doors? How am I going to keep the doors open? Being creative thinker, and then the individual that's like, okay, the Oprah effect has happened, and she just mentioned my company on the show, and now I'm inundated with a lot of different customers. 3 different ideas, 3 different concepts, 3 different conversations. There's anxiety. Again, there's anxiety with all 3 of those.
All 3.
I'm going to start with the individual that's going to have to shut down the doors. You're watching all the communities, all the different stores in your community survive it. I'm needing help, not just with the numbers, because obviously the numbers tell the story, but I'm needing help and guidance in regards of what are some ideas, or where do I find the dollars to keep that door open? Even though I know in my heart I should shut down, but I kind of want to keep it open for a couple of more weeks. Do you have that conversation with them? And same thing with the individual that is keeping the door open, safety-wise versus money-wise, and the individual that's inundated. When do you tell them, you know what, you can't fill those orders? So for all 3.
Yeah. So really, it's about understanding impact. So in the case, we'll take first, you know, the company that's going to have to close. And they're like, maybe I can just stay open 2 more weeks. There are risks that come with all of these things. There's a really fabulous article in the New York Times right now by a woman named Gabrielle Hamilton, who is the owner of a restaurant in New York City called Prune. She wrote a book years ago called Blood, Bones, and Butter, I think. Okay. And she talks about that choice. And it's, you know, I need to know the impact of that choice. Like, what does that mean to paying my people and my taxes and, you know, and that kind of thing. And when you know that the inevitability is that you're closing, we need to get clarity around 2 big numbers. Mm-hmm. What are the debts that are going to follow me out of this? Right?
Yep.
What are those things that don't go away when the business goes away? And for most of my clients, there's a value-based decision around paying people, and I don't want to stiff people. And so there's going to be some losers at the end of all this. You know, sometimes that's vendors and that kind of thing, but we're working with the scenario that the business owner depicts and saying, here, basically an A/B choice. You can choose to stay open those 2 weeks, but if you do that and you choose to pay your people, you're going to be left with some meals tax debt, maybe, that's going to follow you out of this business. And how comfortable are you with that? Ultimately, it's their choice, kind of like a doctor saying, you can take the chemo or not take the chemo, but here are the results of what's going to happen. Right? So it's not our choice. We're just there to help paint the picture. In the case of somebody that's looking to stay open and continue operations, or, you know, looking forward to opening their doors and operating once they're allowed to, that's a really deep, lots of unknowns. So we're, you know, really working with them around, you know, what is your vision for reopening? What are the regulations that are going to change? And it's a lot of conversation around this is not going back to how it was before, ever.
Absolutely not, yeah.
And helping reimagine what that business model looks like. For us, that's a lot of restaurants and hospitality and retail, and, you know, understanding what that is. And we're working not just with them, but we're also working with people within their industry to improve legislation to give them a better shot in the future. But that's a much longer play. But again, pulling, where we're dealing with the finance piece of this, what do those numbers mean? And it's a shoestring for a lot of folks. But getting innovative, like, playing around with the idea of like, well, could you do family meals to go HelloFresh style instead of trying to serve, and does that, putting that innovation hat on, and what do those numbers look like? And then the third scenario, sort of somebody that's like gone through the roof and needs access to financing, a lot of times that's connecting. So connecting them with the right banker, the right lender, the right private financing to get that cash influx. We're fortunate, most of our clients, because they are working with us, their finances are in good shape. They've got the documentation they need. They're ready to have that conversation. So, putting together a projection of like what, how much do you need? So you're going in with a real number and getting them connected to the people that can help give them the money to do that.
Fantastic. So of course, you just like opened up the door of a lot of individuals, big corporate corporations. They've been doing it for quite some time. Now they're working at home and they're feeling, I'm kind of comfortable right where I am. I don't know if I really want to go back to that big corporate, that position. And also the anxiety. I mean, I don't know if that's where I want to be. I'm enjoying time with my family. I'm enjoying those home cooked meals. I'm enjoying stopping working and having that schedule that I've now created in my home. What would you say to someone that is considering, hey, you know what, this is exactly what I needed to start my own company, and how am I going to fund it?
That's really hard. I think that, the market for raising capital privately is going to be tight. I think there are ideas out there and people that are going to use this as a launch pad to doing their own thing, either out of necessity or desire. But I think, what we're seeing right now is if you're risk averse, now is not the time. Even if you're risk tolerant, this may not be the time. But within that, there is this nugget of the right ideas that maybe weren't hitting the market just right before. There's been such a huge shift. All of a sudden, now's your time. Right? So there's going to be folks that found that their timing didn't work before and now it does. And so for those people, like getting ducks in a row, we're here to support them as they really are going to find some market timing that's going to work better for them.
Perfect. This all ends tomorrow. Tomorrow is a whole new day. We're in our new normal. It's not like it was before. Like you said, we're in a new normal. What does your first day look like?
Oh, there's so much food. There's so much food. Yeah, there is patronage of my favorite local coffee shops. There is a trip to my local library and bookstore to peruse and touch all the books.
We may not be able to touch all the books.
And definitely, I surround myself with some really talented chefs and restaurateurs and hospitality professionals, and their soul is aching to cook for people, and I'm ready to eat.
Many people know that I start my year by going to Nantucket for a week, and everyone's like, why would you go to Nantucket in January? And I go to Nantucket in January because I get to see the people, and it's quiet. It's my time to literally self-seclude and just work and plan my year out. And I love that there's still those places that are open that that they've been open all year long. And they continue to be all open all year long for the community, not just for the tourists. So I do definitely appreciate that. If you were I had asked you in regards of the individual that's looking to start their company, where would they start the funding? What about those individuals that they have the money, they have the idea, they have the concept, they want to grow their team like you. They want to design something virtual. You have individuals that are working in different states, yet you're still able to do a very efficient business that, again, has been running for 15 years. How does one go about starting that? Because did it start with the woman that was in Florida that was like leaving you, and then you realized how it worked? Or, I mean, how did that idea and that concept grow? Because a lot of individuals are leaving companies and are moving to places that are less expensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they still want to work. They still want to work
Yeah.
with people that they adore.
And that's the Nantucket model, right? We're one of the most expensive places in the country to live and work and hire. And, you know, Mary's going to move to Florida, which is much less expensive. And as a business owner, that like behooves me, right? Like the dollar goes further, the wage becomes better, even though the wage doesn't move.
Right.
So if you're looking to start that kind of environment, I think you have to own that there are pros and cons, and you have to become a more intuitive leader. And you have to be prepared to spend more time. It takes more time, effort, and energy to connect with your employees.
Okay.
So investing in that part of yourself and getting real about that so that you're not annoyed later when it happens is huge. The casual, like walking past someone's desk and seeing, oh, they're having a bad day or they're upset, facial expression, demeanor, or whatever, is not going to happen. So when there's struggles, you really do have to go out of your way as a leader to unearth that and read between the lines and pick up on those things. And it takes a lot more time to do that. And so if people are super efficient focused, and think that this is going to be business as usual, it's not. So investing in that piece of yourself, whether it's through a business coach or, you know, reading and educating yourself, that piece is going to be important. And be prepared to invest in your technology.
Excellent. That's like, it's great to hear that. And that just like brings me back to a question where in your community, I mean, you're digital, but you have to go shopping. So how is your community surviving with this? And you're a small island. You probably know the majority of individuals that are there year round. How is everyone doing there?
So Nantucket has the lowest rate in the whole state of Massachusetts and some of the lowest rates in the country because the community acted strongly early. So we don't have the ability to actually isolate the island and pull up the drawbridge. Those are state owned. So we had to, you know, a lot of community communication, great action by our local governance. And I think they made smart choices early. So the incidence is low. The danger for us is if we open up too early, there becomes this threat of the illness in other places. Oh, Nantucket's got low rate. Who wouldn't want to be on Nantucket in May and June? They come here, we cause a spike that then kills the whole summer season for us. So they're really staying the course of trying to stay closed, even though people feel like it's kind of silly for us at the moment, in order to preserve and flatten that curve longer through the most important summer season, July and August.
So are the individuals that are still open year round? Are they okay? Are they coming up with creative ways to deliver? I mean,
we're subject to the same rules as the state of Massachusetts and then some. So they actually closed landscaping and construction here, which is considered essential in the rest of the state. We have 14 beds in our hospital. There is no ICU and there's 5 ventilators. So they took this exceptionally seriously. So local businesses, honestly, one of the nice things is local businesses tend to lose money here March, April, and May. So there are actually some businesses that are better off being closed for this period, brick and mortar retailers and restaurants that are better for it, as long as we can capture some piece of June and capture July and August at some level. So as a community, they've really pulled together. All of the good things about Nantucket community and supporting one another and taking care of one and each other have really shown. The leadership has been strong. Bill Belichick it's so great that Bill Belichick decided to come here and do the draft yesterday from Nantucket. I'm assuming he's been here longer, but you know, pretty great. But I think as a community, like the reopening is going to be hard. It's going to be hard on us as an island, because we really depend on those 2 months a year. And if that doesn't happen, there's going to be some economic devastation in the fall.
I mean, I really hope that this, I mean, it always breaks my heart when I hear the stories of whenever there's a storm, teachers that are on the mainland can't come to the schools. And so something like this, I mean, it breaks my heart because being living in Marblehead, I mean, I love coming. It's funny. People always say you live on water and you go to water. I'm like, islands are very, very special, especially if you've grown up in Massachusetts. The islands are very special for so many different reasons. And so I'm crossing my fingers that everything gets back to a new normal, that everyone survives and everyone gets to enjoy the summer, because it is absolutely beautiful there during the summer as well as the winter time. So towards the end, I always ask everyone one specific question where to ask, what is something that you want your community, your industry, potential clients, your clients, what would you like to put out there for people to know about what you're doing as a small business?
So I ask for patience. You know, we are working really hard with as many people as we can. Some of that is pro bono work. You know, we're really trying to triage and to save patients, and our patients being businesses. And sometimes that's not as fast as people would like. And so we ask for patience, and grace, and really for anybody that needs help or thinks that we can be of help to raise their hand. You know, the more people that we can help during this time, the better. You know, I have some really great little nuggets of stories that have happened throughout this time, of some successes. You know, there's people leaving the COVID units, and there's people leaving the fogged in bookkeeping hospital of business that, you know, are doing okay. And I can only hope that we can help, you know, more businesses during this time.
Beautiful. Meghan, thank you very much for taking a few minutes of your time, of your day, especially at the end of your week, to actually talk. I really do feel that more people need to hear these great stories, and the realistic stories of businesses that are working really hard to keep our communities open. And it's something that I always have to remind everyone at the end of every interview as well, is that you are not just the business, you are part of the community, and without you guys, our communities are just very, very blah. It's very blanketed, where there's nothing there. The small businesses really fuel not just your team and they're employing the community, but you guys are also making sure that people that are thinking about, hey, I kind of want to do it by myself, you guys are the example. Your legacy, your passion, and the reason why you started this company, people are watching you, and you probably don't even realize that they're watching you because you're working. So I appreciate what you do. I watch you from afar. I love what you do. I love it when you come to Boston and you're speaking. And so I love that I have a lot of great influencers that are doing great things. And you guys just, again, probably don't even realize it because you're working really hard, but we're watching you. So I wanted to reach out to you, and I want to thank you very much for your time, because your conversation, I mean, what you just said was amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for all that you do, highlighting some amazing people and just being such a contributor.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, when this is all over, because it's going to be over, it's going to be over, I want to circle back with you and hear how that first day was.
Awesome. Thank you, Jodi.
Thank you, Meghan. Have a wonderful, wonderful time at home with your family. This is a precious time.
Yeah, it's precious.
Talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.